beautiful episode on the Cosmic Confidence podcast, where we are peeling back the layers of time, identity, and conditioning to explore what lies beneath the truth of your soul's journey. Now, have you ever had that quiet nudge deep within, like something is calling you forward, but you can't quite name it? I mean, with me, it has happened so many times. And listeners, to help us with unlocking the answers, my guest, Kay Miller, she has walked away from 14 years of teaching in search of a life that is that has felt more aligned, more peaceful, and more her. What she discovered wasn't just a new path, it was a portal to the Akashic Records, a space of soul wisdom that can reset everything you thought you knew about your purpose. So, in our next 20 minutes of conversation, we are going to dive into the power of rapid reprogramming, how the Akashic Records help rewrite subconscious beliefs, and what it really means to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. So, if you are ready to meet the version of you that has been waiting patiently for your return, let's begin. So, Kay, welcome to the show. And as always, it is such an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you, Sana. I am so happy to be here. And what you just said was absolutely beautiful.
I mean, yeah, it has happened so many times. And moreover, when I was going through the intro, something really piqued my interest is how Akashic records they can help rewrite subconscious beliefs. Um, I mean, we through so many conversations, I've got to know about certain archetypes that we come from, or how in the first 7 years or 10 years of our existence, all the experiences, the people around us, the events, they shape our subconscious. So, uh, for someone who's listening to this conversation and they're not familiar with Akashic records, how would you explain, what they are and how exactly do they can change subconscious?
Yeah, great question. So the Akashic Records, the um, the most widely used definition is it's an energetic library that
Mhm.
holds all thoughts, processes, actions over time. And that is very vast. I mean, we are talking about the earth herself has an Akashic record, plant species, animal species, each human on the planet has an Akashic record.
Yeah.
Um, so it's pretty big. And when you go into the records, it is important to be very selective and to have an intention. So to be there with the intention of one certain thing and asking pointed questions towards that. Otherwise, it's just so vast you would get lost. So the more simple explanation that I like to use for people is if you have ever heard of the Book of Life in religious texts, or if you've ever heard the story that I grew up with, that St. Peter will meet you at the gates of heaven with a scroll of your life, a record of your life. And this scroll, your life's actions or inactions, dictates whether you get into heaven. I have come across the Akashic records in kind of a stumbling way, but once I started working in the records, I have come to realize that the Akashic records is your book of life. It is that scroll. Um, and so when we think about the idea of it's used to dictate whether or not we get into heaven, our soul has signed up for specific lessons to learn in this lifetime. And the idea of karmic patterns, we can't if we don't learn the lesson in one lifetime, we're gonna keep going. It is your soul's job and purpose to keep going and learning those lessons. And that is the karmic pattern And so that's kind of the idea that I get with whether or not that your life's events allow you to enter into the gates. Um, so yeah, um, did that answer the question?
It definitely did, and from a very different perspective. I mean, I have learned of, Akashic Records being the, as you mentioned about the library, because our souls, they are energies. I mean, if we kind of blend some science into it as well, our souls are, energies. They are having this endless journey. Uh, and in our, Hindu, not mythology, but in the Hindu religious beliefs, I mean, I have often learned about rebirths, that, we have 7 lives. Our souls takes different um, forms and shapes, but we have 7 lives. And all, and then it's also connected to karma somehow. But I mean, I absolutely believe in that, that our souls are energies and they have different experiences. They are going through different timelines, locations, um and spaces and time zones, I don't know. So they have whole lot of information stored within them, and it's kind of a channel to access those informations in order to, understand who exactly we are, at least, with some subtle hints or those experiences that has shaped our souls. So I mean, that's what I have understood. And also, I would also like to know, Kay, that we often talk about intuition, spiritual guidance. Some people would say I am very spiritually sensitive, or I can understand, I get a hint that something good, something bad is going to happen, or this person, or somebody, when they're meeting someone, maybe they feel like I had something connected with this person in my previous life, something like that. So, how Akashic records are different from this intuition or spiritual guidance?
That's good too. So they are connected, and a lot of times, we feel those intuitive nudges, and we think, sometimes we just kinda bypass it, and it might be really strong, and so we do tune into it, but we maybe keep it to ourselves for a while, and then in an Akashic reading, you might have something that is brought up around that subject that completely validates the inner knowing that you've always had. That is very common in my work with my clients, that they already know, but the wisdom that we get from reading the Akashic records, it is your soul's truth. It is your soul's journey across lifetimes. And we are able to, yeah, to look into there and to read them and to see, one, why are you here? What is the purpose that you came here for? What are you here to do? Because every person listening to your podcast, I'm sure, is directed in their purpose. They know that they're here on earth for a reason, and they want to serve humanity in the way that they can. And what is that? And so we're listening to our own nudges. We know, but to read the records, we are able to see exactly what that purpose is, what life lessons you're also here to accomplish, to learn, and then also through increased work in the records. This doesn't really happen in the first session. I've Rarely, every once in a while, I'll have a client that we have a healing that happens in that very first session, but generally, it's after a session or 2, we get into past life traumas, and, there may be a block, as you were talking about with the subconscious, there may be a block as to why you're not able to, or you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, um, quitting your job and, opening up this beautiful market that you want to do. Um, but you can't because fear has you frozen and you can't. Well, it's possible that there is a reason for that, that is, something that happened in a past life. And so we can see that in the records. And then through working with the client's guides, your spiritual guides, as well as my spiritual guides, the guides then take us through a healing in order to heal that trauma that is stored within your energetic body, and it is causing you to not be able to move forward in maybe learning that karmic pattern, or doing the thing that you really want to do.
Hmm. That definitely makes sense. And Kay, you left a stable teaching career to pursue this deep spiritual work. Um, I mean, I believe in our previous conversation, you had mentioned that although there was, I mean, a lot of contribution from a physical perspective, burned out, and you had your priorities, but was there any specific moment from the perspective of uh, understanding our purpose, or more of a spiritual perspective, that I can't ignore this pull towards exploring this anymore, something like this.
Yes. Um, I think I've always had the intuitive knowing that, we are here for a purpose and I am here for a purpose, and it directs my life and always has. And the it became very clear, after I had an awakening after hitting rock bottom and a second round of burnout in my teaching career. And after that, had implemented just honestly different, more healthy ways of dealing with my stress that I wasn't aware of before. And that changed everything. And when it did, um, being in the classroom no longer felt, well, okay, it's twofold, because on the one hand, because of meditation and because of all the different things that I was doing in my personal and spiritual life, it actually made me show up in a different way that was much more ease filled, very just life came easy in terms of my teaching and my relationships. And so there was that. But then on the other end of it, there was a knowing that it is time to move on to your next chapter. And once I had started working in the records, I could actually see it as that. It was a new book that had begun, and so that transition there, the denial of, or fear, the denial and the fear of not wanting to leave the classroom was incredibly painful. But after taking that leap and moving, that's when things really opened up. And so, yeah, I think it is, we have the inner knowing, we have the nudges, we know what our soul, the direction our soul wants us to go. We know it. We know it if we are tuned in to that voice. And it is the denying of it that creates the pain.
Yeah, that's quite profound. The denying of it creates the pain. Quite profound. Okay. Um, and you know, mm, we often talk about that there is an inner voice within us, an inner calling within us. Um, uh, that many people would say it's an intuition, or it's like your inner self or your higher self telling you. Has this to do, or has this some connection with our Akashic records, our soul's journey or purpose?
That's a really good question that I have not pondered this before.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I think, the voice of our higher self
Mm,
knows all knows all and also if we can kind of get into a space of time only exists in our continuum in earth, right? So space and time we have this idea of linear time for us, but the higher self is aware of all wisdom and truths across all lifetimes, past, present, and future, all timelines. And so it's, yeah, the higher self, and which is to me also the voice of the soul, has the answers and knows all of the truths as well. But the records would be, to me, they are a different entity, a different space, energetic space.
mm,
So, hopefully we all are working towards being in relation with the higher self, allowing the higher self to guide you and in your daily activities and choices. Um, and then the records, so it's almost like that's your
mm,
interpersonal relationship, and then the records are kind of the external, um, um, like data library,
mm.
if that makes sense, where we can go and kind of it's like a Google search,
Yeah,
really, for your soul's journey.
it is. It is. Um, that's that is beautiful, and then um, I also believe in that you know, I mean, often we make wrong decisions, or we do the most blunders, um, and often there's a lot of misconception around that you should always uh, look at everything from a rational or a logical point of view rather than just listening to your soul or your higher self or your inner voice. But uh, sometimes I think, I mean, I believe that it is more about our inner calling and inner voice, because even if it's logical or rational, something which is not aligned with our soul, it also may feel dry and soulless.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. And Kay, as we are talking about Akashic Records, so how do you, um, follow the approach when, let's say, somebody is coming to you for getting their Akashic reading done? Then completely, I mean, they're not familiar with that, but from a practical or a daily life point of view, how do you guide them that, because sometimes it can happen that um, they are accessing their records, and they hear something that they don't want to hear, let's say about their job or health or what the future may look like, um, and they aren't ready to uh, take that. So how do you uh, help them do that?
Yeah. Interestingly, in my experience, we only hear what we're ready for. So for example, with my clients and the purpose that I use for the records, the first meeting, the first session is
Mhm.
always, what is the soul's purpose and the soul's journey, or what can we know about the soul's purpose and the soul's journey, and how can the client actualize it now in this moment? And that answer, it changes based off of based off of your um where you are that day, where you are in that point in your life based off of your ability to see deeper truths. Um, so I'll give an example. Sometimes I have sessions. Are My clients vary in how open they are spiritually and to different beliefs and those kind of things. And so I can have a meeting with somebody who is incredibly open to all kinds of things, and it is completely mind-blowing what comes out of those sessions. The answers and the wisdom and the deep, incredible truths that come out of that.
Mhm.
And then I can have a session with one who is, um, maybe newer to the spiritual journey, and they are invested in hearing about their purpose and their soul's journey, but they're a little bit newer, and they're maybe not quite as opened, and not because they don't want to be, but because it is a process. So in that reading, we might get very simple answers, but it is always exactly what the client is ready to hear. And that is the information that is given to me that I then just relay it back. I will say um, I have a I have a friend that I did a reading with, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or whatever, and I told her that she would be leading retreats and writing a book, and she did not wanna hear that. She did not wanna be writing a book, and she absolutely did not like the idea of leading retreats, and 6 months later, she is writing an entire new program and about to run a retreat that just really fell into her lap through collaboration with some other friends, and we laughed about it, that she didn't wanna hear it, but yet that's exactly what happened, in a way that suited her.
Hmm, that can be really surprising. But uh, yeah, I mean, I believe that we were just discussing this before we began the show that you keep putting your efforts into it, but also there is some amount of the universal force, or maybe the, I don't know what exactly it will be, but it is working for you and with you to get that done for which you are there, you are existing in this cosmos. So um yeah, that's why I can hear to said universe works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely. I truly believe that when you step into living, living your life in alignment with that intuitive voice,
Hmm.
everything, the doors open. The universe conspires to meet you exactly where you are and to help you to succeed. It is, to me, it's 100% truth.
Exactly. And even if for the skepticism, those who have seen it, those who have been there, um, I think that will be more than just a proof to, I mean, to answer any of the skepticism around this. Um, great case. So, before we wrap the conversation, um, if our listeners they would like to connect with you and would like to take interest in exploring their Akashic records or journey, what would be the best way?
Yeah, you can find me at kmillercoach.com. Um, and on my website, there's plenty of information about booking a session. And yeah, you can start with just that. What is my soul's purpose? What am I here to do? And to get the validation that helps you to move forward in taking action every day.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And okay, thank you first of all so much for sharing your journey, and also your journey and the insights that you shared. I think they really make it clear that accessing the Akashic records isn't about escaping this life. It's more about living it more fully aligned to who we were always meant to be. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
And to all the listeners out there, if you felt a pull during this conversation, consider it your own soul's breadcrumb. Pause, listen, and maybe even open a new kind of dialogue with yourself. So, listeners, this has been Cosmic Conference, and make sure to connect with Kay. I'll have all the links in the show notes along with this episode. Until next time, may you remember who you truly are, and may that remembering light the way forward. Thank you.